I would like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. I am Trustee Jari Shelby, the Finance Chair. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. We're located at the Village of Broadview at 2350 South 25th Avenue and the Village Chambers. And I was going to do a roll call. Okay, can we have, do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay? Can we have a moment of silence? Number 2 is public comments, and I would like to move that after the budget planning, which is the last item on the agenda. So any comments we will have then. I'd like to welcome Trustee Judy Abraham. Okay, and now I will turn it over to the finance team.
The year-to-date?
Okay, I have, we're going to discuss the year-to-date financials from January 2023.
Okay, yeah. All right, good evening, everyone. Just want to go over the year-to-date financials for the general fund. Year-to-date revenues are $14.4 million. That's 4.3 ahead of budget. So some of the good news that we're seeing with revenues is sales tax is about $1.1 million ahead of budget. We had about $4 million of reimbursement of village expenditures. Ambulance service fees are about $460,000 ahead of budget. Sales taxes are about $77,000 ahead of budget. Year-to-date budget. This makes up for the fact that property taxes have fallen short because the disbursements are being delayed of about $4.1 million, and so despite property taxes being delayed, we've been able to stay ahead of budget about $4.3 million. Expenditures for year-to-date through January 2023 are $8.6 million. That's favorable to budget about $3.6 million. So for year-to-date, we're operating income is $5.8 million. That's ahead of year-to-date. It's behind where we expected to be for year-to-date budget, about $2 million. Any questions?
Are there any questions, anyone? No questions? Okay. The next item on the agenda is discussed fiscal year 21, the financial audits.
Okay, that'll be me as well. So for fiscal 21, we're at the ending stage of the audit. The auditors came back in last week to finish up field work, and we're answering their follow-up questions for the field work that was conducted. And once we have an opportunity to return all of the documentation that they're requiring for their follow-up questions, we should be able to have fiscal 21's audit wrapped up in probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, barring no other mishaps or any additional requests from the auditors. And one of the reasons that the audit, COVID not only significantly impact, residents and businesses, but it also impacted our service providers because the job market allowed a lot of folks to exit the job market, and that put us at a disadvantage, especially with our auditors. They had a significant amount of turnover, so that really put us behind schedule where we would like to be for finishing not only this audit, but the previous audit as well. So that's where we are. We hope to be done, like I said, in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, and the next thing we'd like to discuss or announce is the fiscal '24 budget planning has begun. Most of the departments have gotten me a preliminary budget. We need to now compare the needs of the village to the income sources that are going to be available to us next year. I was hoping to be able to announce some of the plans, capital improvement plans, tonight, but it looks like we're not at that stage yet, so I'm still working with our engineers and Matt to come up with that list. This is going to be, for the first time in 2 or 3 years, pretty much a normal budget. There's nothing, I shouldn't say anything because I'll probably jinx myself here, but there's nothing negative in the horizon, and there's, no major crises. So hopefully we'll smooth out this year very well. And a few of the things that were in last year's budget did not come to fruition yet. They will be carried forward. Some of the funds that we've got from the state that were in last year's budget, those projects didn't happen, the funds weren't released. We will be carrying those forward. So we hope to be able to have this budget completed and voted on April 17th, the last board meeting. So we'll have it by the end of the fiscal year. And we're planning on having, and I'm looking at Katrina right now, it's March 14th, April 14th. For the finance committee. April 12th. On April 12th, hopefully we will have a budget ready for presentation for you, and we'll do that at the finance committee meeting. Are there any questions? No requests, Dave. This isn't the place.
Okay, is there any comments or anything? Okay.
For me?
You have any comments or questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to, I know you guys covered some good points, you and Mr. Hicks, Mr. Hood. Will there be any information left in our fellow trustees' boxes so that they kind of be up to speed here with everything, what was discussed, what was brought up?
Sure. As more information comes in, you'll get a look at the preliminary budget.
Okay.
But we've got to figure out what we got coming in and what we can do to what we want to do.
Gotcha.
It's always, but we're not at that point yet.
Okay. And then same thing for you, Mr. Hicks. Do you got any numbers you want to put in there, like any, so that they just are well informed since they weren't able to attend? Just so that they can be up to speed at the same time, just so everything runs smooth, as I say.
Yes, so the year-to-date January numbers were already provided. We're just providing a little more color at this meeting and going into a little more depth. So if any member has any additional in-depth questions, they can always reach out to myself or Mr. Hood.
Okay. Personally contact.
Yes, I was going to ask you if you had any.
So, while we go through the department heads, I know Tim and Tom is finalizing. I know that they are finalizing some, the budget within the respective departments, so we're looking to do our department head budget. I'm looking at tentative April 1st. That's a Saturday when the department heads and myself, we all get together and we go through each line and how we can balance the budget. And then on April 12th, that will be our preliminary budget when we make the announcement of what the preliminary budget is. So the information that you're asking for, Trustee Abraham, that will be at that meeting. And then we have to get on the calendar, like the budget hearing and all of those formalities that we have to take as it relates to passing the budget for the second board meeting in April. So we're gonna still follow the program that we have, and right now, we're still in the process of talking to the department heads on what the needs are in the respective departments. And then we'll all get together on how we negotiate with one another on where we can, help one another out in each department or whatever the needs are for this calendar year, or fiscal year, this fiscal year as we move forward. So it's traditionally moving forward like we do, it's just the timing of how this is all coming out is just getting it on the calendar, getting us in the room, and going through it. And then I know I have to have a meeting with the finance team, so I hope to have that meeting before March 24th, to have that meeting with them so that they can give me the updates and a brief on what took place in the conversations that they had with each department.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you, Mayor, because that was gonna be my next question, with the departments and what their requests and needs are, because I wanna make sure. And the other thing I did wanna make a comment was to, when Director Ames was here, and I know you were here, Ms. Shelby, Trustee Shelby, remember he had covered how he had used other sources to gain projects, so.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure, we applaud him as well as any other department head that is looking for outside sources not to drain our stuff, so, and I'm sure I wanted
Thank
that to
you for
continue,
that.
and I was very impressed with Director Ames and what he's done and how he got other sources, so.
Thank you for that.
Can I add also, when you're talking about different revenue streams in this budget, I know on the administration side, there's gonna be some things that I'm gonna be asking for so that we can move the village forward, and that's looking into maybe bringing a federal lobbyist on board. Because we have some equipment that we need to purchase in the fire department, and we have to get some insight on how we apply for those federal grants to get some of the equipment that we need. So I'm doing my due diligence part to make sure that we can secure that and what that will look like for us as we look for a federal lobbyist so that we can entertain some of the needs that we need in the fire department, because we have some big ticket items that's coming up, and how we leverage the relationships and how we get the means to get the equipment that they need over there. And it's not about, although that they do secure funding and their revenue sources with the ambulance and the GMT funds and all of that, but outside of that, we have a budget that we have to manage in that department. And they have some equipment that's life safety. And we cannot afford not to have the equipment that they need to be efficient for the residents and the business stakeholders in the village of Broadview. So we got some things that's on the horizon that's caught my attention. And most certainly we have to address that, and how we come to the funding source to get the needs to bring that department up to code and to speed on what they need. We're looking at some hard ticket items. So Budget Officer Hood, we actually had a small conversation about it earlier today of what that looked like. So I got some thoughts and ideas on what that would look like. But we're gonna have to entertain that. The other thing that I'm gonna be asking for is to put in the budget for us to do a comprehensive plan so that we can know the direction that the village of Broadview is going in. We've been doing great work for 6 years. So now it's time for us to leverage all of the federal funding and state funding that we're getting. We're getting a lot of grant funding in. And so we have to manage all of that. So I'm looking to also transition the finance team as well. And that's bringing on a full-time finance director and shifting the finance director and the budget officer role. So that's gonna be coming before the Board of Trustees in the upcoming weeks so that we can bring on a full-time finance person, because the grants that we are receiving currently, we have to have someone in-house to manage that and manage our general funds and how we accommodate that budget when we look at audit and stuff, so that we can continue to work in transparency, be accountable to the finances, and be accountable with our residents on what that look like fiscal for the village of Broadview. So it's some things taking place behind the scenes, but we gotta continue to have this dialogue and be transparent with the residents on what that look like. So if any trustees have any questions about the direction that we're going in, instead of trying to circumvent me, come straight to the horse's mouth, come straight to the horse and get the information that you're seeking, because we have the answers to the direction that we're going, and we want to be a team player so that it's good for everyone in the village of Broadview, but not just a selected group of people. So we're working to do our due diligence, like Budget Officer Hood said, or I don't know if it was Hicks or Hood, but as it relates to the audit and the and what took place with that during COVID, with people leaving and getting on track. We're not the only municipality that's in that situation. So, not saying that's good or bad, but I know that we're doing our due diligence to balance the department heads. I have to thank them, you know, because they balance, they work it within the guidelines of the budget that the Board of Trustees approve every year. And they have not went outside of that scope of work of what they budgeted for.
Thank you, Mayor. And that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to thank the department heads for staying within the budgets, and I would also like to thank the finance team for, you know, keeping us up to date on, you know, what's going on and keeping things in order for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct on that.
And I just wanted to add to the schedule, we've got to remember 10 days before we vote, we've got to publish it. So really, we're talking about 4/17, but it's really 4/7.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And that goes back to the April 1st.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
if
I
there,
think if we can, I like what the mayor had to say,
yes,
Trustee Shelby, about just trying, you know, making sure our departments have the necessary funds so that they can do their job properly, because they're in a, you know, they're in a business of management
most definitely.
and making sure that they have the personnel and the equipment, and like anything else with equipment, it doesn't last forever. So,
true.
and I'm glad you're looking, I like that comment you made, Madam Mayor, about having a lobbyist for federal. I think that's gonna be
Right.
a big opportunity for us to really, and I hope my fellow trustees, you know, do consider that, you know.
Yeah, I know we
because-
we really need one.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the page, I'm on the page, I get it, I think it's a great idea, it's just, you know, the other board members, to get that, because at some point in time, you know, as everything else, we're growing, we're expanding, right, our population's changing, our departments are evolving, so, and I'm glad we're looking at a future, not present, but we wanna have a future, so definitely respect that.
Thank you, Trustee Abraham, and I want to thank you for always being there and support.
Well, I just think
supporting
it's you know, it's like anything else. We all got our, personal checkbooks, and we gotta balance it every month, and I mean, it's the same thing here, being responsible, so.
me. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? I guess we're-
All in
Aye.
favor?
Yep,
Okay,
all good.
thank you. Have a good night, everyone.